As a Warhammer player, my weekends usually consist of toy soldiers and rolling dice with friends, either filming for my YouTube channel or attending events throughout the UK. I am, however, partial to a board game. My wife and I play Wingspan several times a week, so I decided to step out of my comfort zone and head to the largest board game convention in the UK, the UK Game Expo. But what is the UK Games Expo? The UK Games Expo is stated to be the premier hobby convention in the UK, and remarkably it's grown to become the second largest trade hall event of its kind in the world, right after Germany's Essen Games Fair. The Games Expo started back in 2007, however now occupies all 5 halls at the NEC, which is situated in Birmingham, and it also occupies the adjacent Hilton Hotel. Last year the show attracted around 70,000 visitors, and this year it exceeded 87,000 people. It's fair to say it acts as a massive umbrella for the entire tabletop ecosystem, bringing together board games, role-playing games, card games and miniatures, all under one roof. So this was the first time I'd attended the Games Expo riding solo. Now something I really wanted to do was walk the entire show. Because I was only there for the day, I wanted to get the lay of the land, understand how the event works, and get the full experience before either the heat or my body got the better of me. More of that in a moment. So the event runs over the Friday, Saturday and the Sunday. I decided to go on the Friday because I thought it might be slightly quieter, arriving again early at 8 AM. But the queues had already begun. It was rammed. I hadn't pre-booked tickets, so I ended up picking a ticket up on the day. The organisers used Hall 5 just to process the tickets, and the sheer size and scale of that space just to process tickets was absolutely mind-bending. It was a huge space. If you're planning to go in the future, don't worry about it. I found there was little to no disadvantage. The on-the-day queue was a similar size to the prepaid line, and both lines were moving incredibly fast. So massive credit to the volunteers there. It was fair to say it was a well-oiled machine. The doors opened at 9, and me being a Warhammer centric, I immediately gravitated towards Hall 4, where the Warhammer stand was situated, and I decided to work my way counterclockwise around the show. I thought the miniature wargaming stands would kind of be like heavily clustered, and that's kind of where I wanted to focus my energy. However, I rapidly realised that the convention is very well mixed. There was something for everyone at almost every single corner. Starting with the Warhammer stand, they had a good selection of all of their games on display. They even had some Horus Heresy, which I was slightly surprised about. And so whilst they aren't technically a board game company, they clearly served as an anchor occupier for that section of Hall 4, comprising shop and show space, as well as a large participation painting area. That said, the Duncan Rhodes Painting Academy, who were also running a large painting competition alongside Trench Crusades, arguably occupied just as much more, if not more, floor space. It is awesome to see how much the wargaming side of the expo is actually thriving. But I didn't just come here to look at things I already play. I wanted to try something brand new, and one of my very first stops of the day was learning to play a game called Netrunner. Netrunner was originally released in 1996, however saw a resurgence when Fantasy Flight Games reimagined it in 2012. Today the game is kept alive and passionately produced by the non-profit fan-led organisation Null Signal Games. It's an asymmetrical, expandable, 2-player card game where one person plays a resource-rich mega corporation defending its data servers, and the other player plays a lone rogue hacker or runner trying to break in. The Foundation starter box system gateway serves as a perfect entry point and costs around £34. I really enjoyed learning a completely new system. Obviously being card based, it felt very different to many of the Warhammer games. The aesthetic gave me a Johnny Mnemonic, Tron, Ready Player One and Neo Feud vibes. Honestly, I don't think the official box art does the game any justice. On the shelf it comes across as a slightly soft, generic cyberpunk vibe, but once you actually get your hands on the cards and start playing, it feels incredibly gritty, fast-paced, and raw. Next up, I visited Brickskrieg, an awesome brand I first discovered at the Hereward Wargame Show, a local show to me last year. Brickskrieg is a great independent company situated just outside Cambridge that kind of bridges the gap between historical military modelling and bricks. They specialise in designing and supplying high quality, highly detailed military kits. And what makes them stand out is their dedication to accuracy, giving historical wargamers and brick building enthusiasts a unique crossover. Their kits are incredibly accessible, with small vehicles or artillery sets starting around £15 to £20, while their larger, highly detailed kind of signature tanks and starter packs generally sit at around the £40 to £60 price mark. It's a brilliant concept that offers a tangible, rewarding building experience without the need for glue or paint. So they had a brilliant little lounge area set up where you could just sit down and build a little Panzer tank. And even though I was in the middle of a massive convention surrounded by thousands of people, I totally zoned out. It was pure mindfulness. I thoroughly suggest you give them a look if you ever see them at a show. If you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, you need a little breather, just get one of their kits and build it there. Just find somewhere nice and quiet. Just do a little bit of building. Yeah, it was lovely. From there, I made my very first purchase of the day over at Crooked Dice. After having numerous conversations with a couple of the guys, I finally caved and brought the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle models. They are super cool, and honestly, I can't wait to paint them at some point in the next 10 to 20 years. Into the pole of the potential they go. By this point, I'd probably explored about 30% of the show. I'd had an intro game, I built a tank, I'd done some shopping, and I was starting to flag. And it was only, about 11 AM, so it was time for a break. Living with a stoma and an autoimmune condition isn't easy. Managing it is a constant act, and the reality is I can no longer do half as much as I wanted to do. Because of that, I have to pretend I'm a real life Tamagotchi. I have to take it easy, schedule regular breaks, and remember to sit down before my body forces me to. But stopping for 15 minutes made a huge difference, but I also got to sit and do some people watching. It's really great to see so many people from different demographics all just geeking out. There was people dressed up, and there was even someone rolling around in a Dalek. Absolute scenes. So after a brief rest, I delved back in the hall and discovered Black Scorpion miniatures for the first time, or at least I'd never seen their models knowingly in the wild. So Black Scorpion Miniatures is a UK-based company known for producing an incredible range of crisp, highly detailed resin miniatures, primarily sculpted by a gentleman called Adam Clark. They're famous for capturing immense character and dynamic motion in 32mm, making their models an absolute joy for painters and gamers alike. They're best known for supporting three main character game systems. The first is called Cutlass, a fast-paced pirate tabletop game filled with swashbucklers, fantasy races and undead crews. The second is Tombstone, a gritty Wild West skirmish game packed with lawmen, outlaws and gunslingers. I, however, was absolutely blown away by the Brennanmore fantasy range. It looks absolutely perfect for old school early editions of Warhammer Fantasy Battle as well as Mordheim. I can already feel a massive purchase coming on. It was also fantastic to see the Hexton Hills hexagonal map tiles on display, done by Graven Guild. They had their Imperia Hexica set on display, which is currently available on My Mini Factory, and it looks perfect for the Horus Heresy. And not forgetting, I also got to meet Harris, who played part of the cast for everyone's favourite series, Sharpe. I instantly messaged my good buddy Dawn's Arrow. I asked him if he'd like a signature, and moments later I picked up both the signed book and photo. It'll be on its way to you soon, buddy. Eventually, I made my way over to Hall 1, which was entirely dedicated to the tournament and gaming spaces. I wandered over to the 40k Grand Tournament to see what was going on, and I think it really highlighted the community's general feeling towards, modern 40k tournament terrain. It's just so uninspiring, seeing 3-colour terrain, which probably includes the primer, just doesn't really capture the imagination. It looks incredibly stale, especially when you compare it, to the setups for Star Wars Legion, and some of the other gaming systems which were situated, immediately next to them. However, it did look like the 40k Kill Team guys, the terrain, had some theme and it had some colour on it, and they looked like having a bit more fun. But the absolute highlight of the day was probably spending 5 minutes speaking to Dave from MS Paint. I've been a long-time fan or voyeur of his YouTube channel for a number of years, and he covers a wide range of gaming systems and just covers all things in the hobby. And his production levels are easily some of the best in the business, and is something for me that I would love to aspire to. It was cool to speak to Dave face to face. And Hector, the health and safety frog, kindly signed a postcard for me. Absolute lad, or frog. Let's just call him a legend. If you're thinking of attending the UK Games Expo in the future, let me leave you with my top survival tips. Tip number 1, one day isn't enough. You will absolutely need more than a single day to fully appreciate and see everything the show has to offer. Tip number 2, avoid Saturday if you hate crowds. It was insanely busy. Friday, however, was a really good vibe. Tip 3, bring your own water. There are only 2 water bottle refill stations available in the venue, and there was always a queue, usually because someone was standing there filling up 4 or more bottles at a time. Tip number 4, take your breaks. There is a surprisingly high amount of places to sit down and relax inside, and if it's a nice sunny day, there's loads of space to sit outside in the shade around the NEC. Tip number 5, bring a trolley. As you all know, I love a hobby trolley. The number of people who brought foldable trolleys just to carry their purchases was real, and I am absolutely here for it. Lastly, and most importantly, go to Chow Street. I honestly couldn't believe it when I saw probably 200 people standing in a miserable queue waiting to get a subway, when literally there's a 5-minute walk away to the other side of the Hilton Hotel. There was probably a dozen independent food trucks selling all kinds of delicious, high quality food. All in all, my solo trip to the UK Games Expo was a massive win. Going into a giant board game convention as a dedicated Warhammer player, or primarily Warhammer player, can feel a bit like stepping into foreign territory, but the community is just as welcoming. I got to pace myself, I managed my health, I learned some awesome new games, and added some awesome new models to my pile of shame. More than anything, it was just awesome to see how massive and vibrant our hobby is right now, outside of our usual kind of local gaming bubbles. Whether you're into historical competitive card games or painting toy soldiers, there is space for you. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you've been to the expo, what's your favourite board game right now, and what your top tips are to surviving the expo.